following podcast contains naughty words.
Things you wouldn't want your kids or your parents to hear.
But frankly, we don't give it.
Thank you for joining us again. This is Paul Wilson.
And I'm Danny Voss.
And we're here with the Diesel Performance Podcast. Coming at you today with some really cool topics, but as always, we want to get started by saying thank you for all of the social media interaction we've had. The YouTube comments, please keep them coming, guys. We try to stay interactive with them. Same as the Facebook private messages. We've been getting a lot of those lately, Danny.
I know it, and we would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also our iTunes.
Yeah, please subscribe and comment on the iTunes, and definitely subscribe to the Duramax Tuner YouTube channel, which is where you can find all of our podcasts loaded on YouTube. Today's topic, you want to introduce it, Danny?
We're talking tractor tuning.
Tractor tuning.
Who would have thought?
We're also joined today by Nick Priegnitz.
Happy to be here as always, fellas.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming back. And we have a new special guest, Logan Eck.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing great, Logan. Thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for joining us today, Nick in person and Logan on the phone. The reason we brought you guys into the podcast when we started talking tractor tuning is, Logan, you've tuned quite a few tractors here recently. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've tuned 4 of our Deers, and then we've just got one case quad track on our farm, a 600, and we run about 10 tractors total of the bigger tractors, and we've got a few little smaller ones. So yeah, that's what we're running. So
that's awesome, man. I'm really glad to hear it. You know, Danny and I obviously have a lot of experience with tuning. When we talk tuning, I'm always thinking drag truck, pull truck, tow rig. I'm thinking about trucks. I'm thinking about Volkswagen cars. Tractor tuning is something that's new to me within the last few years. I would say 5 years ago, I had never heard of it.
Tractor tuning is a really cool niche. It's a really cool little cutout in the tuning market. You know, the truck tuning, like you said, it makes you think about going fast. It makes you think about sled pulling. It makes you think about burning rubber, having fun, occasionally being an idiot, right?
Yeah.
You don't do that shit in a tractor, right?
Right. That
costs too much.
Exactly. I mean, you don't do it long because you get in trouble for it. You know, the whole idea behind tractor tuning really comes down to the economy. You know, what's the best thing for the efficiency of the farmer and the farm? I mean, if there's one thing that I know, I don't know that much about farming, but I know a lot of farmers, and I know that they're all about getting rid of bottlenecks, and they're all about efficiency. And when some tractor that's underpowered is holding up the operation, man, they want to fix it.
That's it. That makes a ton of sense. Logan, how about you? What got you first thinking about tuning a tractor? How did you come across that?
Well, we run an 8130 John Deere. We bought back in 09. We bought 2 of them, and we run a potato digger behind it. We're digging 4 rows at a time. We run row 4 into it. And sometimes you just get into some spots, and it's just the tractor's an 8130, which is the lower part of that series, and it just didn't have enough oomph. So we purchased a chip, which I don't know if I can tell the brand, but we bought a chip for it, and it worked for a while, and it just never worked. And it broke clothes. Tractors start smoking and everything, and I found you guys, and I just thought, man, let's just give these guys a try. And I talked to Chris and everything, and I was just kind of first worried, if we're going to upgrade this tractor, it's just kind of a weary subject. If I want to boost this thing up to an 8530, am I going to start having stuff fail? And he reassured me, hey, everything's the same on this tractor, if it was an 8530. And I said, well, let's go with it. And I tuned it, put it all up to an 8530, and we couldn't really tell a difference, pulling up and down the road with it, getting the planter moved around before planting potatoes. And my brother-in-law, Craig, he plants our potatoes, and he hopped in it. And as soon as he got a full load on that potato planter, planting 8 rows at a time, he's like, hey, I can already tell a difference. And this was not very favorable planting for us, and potato planting, you just can't wait till it dries up sometimes. You just got to, to ideal conditions, you just got to go do it. And he said there were spots before that tractor would lug down, and just kill itself. And he said times now, he goes, this tractor's got so much more power, it just pulled itself. It just kept on digging. So that's when I knew let's just keep on doing it some more of our tractors and see where we can get.
That's awesome, man. And I think there's a few points in there that we want to dig into and kind of dissect here. I would say the first is, as you start to look at it, I don't mind talking about what brands or what products you've used in the past. Really, what I'm most interested, though, is what type of chip was it? Was it a resistor chip, or I guess if you tell us the brand, we can kind of work backwards from there. Yeah,
it was a TNS Performance chip. I'm guessing, I'm not exactly the best, I'm not an extreme diesel mechanic what you guys are, but I mean, it just plugged into the fuel pump there on the right side of the tractor, and that was it. And, you zip tied it somewhere where it wouldn't fall off or, break off, and that was pretty much it. I'm guessing it's a resistor, it's just telling it to put more fuel into the tractor.
Absolutely. Okay. So you had a resistor module that didn't really get the job done.
Let's dig into it a little more, Paul. I don't want to.
Yeah, please.
Because Logan brings up a good point where he started and he got a chip for this tractor, and he didn't say he was worried about getting a chip for the tractor. Getting a chip for the tractor was a perfectly normal thing for him, right? So it's kind of interesting because this is the way the truck market started for us too. There was these module type boxes that were on the trucks, and nobody thought anything of it. You buy a module type box, you uprate the power on the truck or get more power out of it, and then custom tuning comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh shit, I don't know about this. This is some real stuff here." Like, you're talking about going to an 8530 or an 8520. Like that's a major step. You know what I mean? Especially when this chip is kind of like hit and miss.
Right.
Like you're having so luck with this thing, and then we're telling you we can promise you some serious consistent gains here, and it almost sounds too good to be true. And I think that's what a lot of farmers we talk to on a day-to-day basis, that's kind of where we are in the marketplace right now, is we almost sound too good to be true.
Absolutely. I'd say that's totally normal. And we do all remember the chips and stacking chips. Mm-hmm. Who here hasn't stacked a chip on a truck before? Like an edge and a bully dog. Like there was anything ever that ran better, right?
How could this go wrong?
Yeah. But we did it, and back then I like that idea that we were just trying to get a little bit more. That's what everybody said, right? And then when it came to custom tuning, I read a post the other day on Facebook where somebody said, I wonder if Suncoast has ever sent a thank you letter to EFI Live for building them an empire.
I did see that too.
Yeah, right. And I think any of us who've put big tunes on our LB7s or old 5-speeds can really appreciate where that's coming from. But with custom tuning, at least that was my thought when it first rolled out, was, is this going to be great? Is this going to be too much? I guess it's like any tool. It depends on whose hands it's in.
It's your typical great power, great responsibility thing. I mean, when we tell you we can get that kind of power out of the tractor, you're like, well, that sounds great, but man, that if they do it wrong, that sounds like that could go really poorly. And it just depends on who you're working with, and depends on what kind of background and history and strategy they're using.
Absolutely. And I think that also kind of drives me into the other point I wanted to dissect here. We're talking about an 8130, and we kind of smoothed over here of uprating it to an 8530. Nick, could you field that a little bit and explain that a little bit more about what's going on there when we say we're uprating it to a different series or to a different model?
Yeah, I think Logan touched on that when you said Chris was talking to you, and he kind of filled you in on what the difference was between your 8130 and like the 8330, the 8430. Is that about right, Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, what we usually coach a customer through is, we talk about the transmission, we talk about the turbocharger, we talk about the fuel injection system, cooling capacity. It's a 9-liter engine. And
right.
That doesn't really hit home until you think a Duramax is 6.6 liters and it makes 397 horsepower on an LML. Well, Logan's talking about a tractor that's a 9-liter engine and it's 310 horsepower. So what gives, man?
Yeah.
Where's the rest of the power, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with, a tractor is a rolling dyno cell. The thing is under load all the time. He's talking about his brother-in-law planting potatoes with it. He's beating the shit out of it. He's full throttle. It's running. You don't run a truck like that usually. So you run a tractor like that, and it's got to reject a lot of heat. And so the cooling system has to be up to the task. It's not that the engine can't make the power. 9-liter engines can make 1,500 horsepower. They just can't get rid of the heat, especially when they're going 5 miles an hour or whatever he's planting at.
Right. Okay. Okay. So when we're talking about uprating it, it comes down to what hard parts are on the tractor. Is that right?
That's a big part of it.
So if they have the same components for cooling, for turbo, for injector, if they have all the same hard parts, the only difference between them is really the electronically controlled tuning.
That's a major. That is the secret John Deere doesn't want you to know.
Okay. So Logan, so you have 5 tractors too now. Did I catch that correctly? 4 Deeres in a case?
Let me think. Oh, I'm sorry, three Deeres in a case.
3 Deeres in a case. Okay. Have you had any reliability issues?
No, I mean we're rained out today, but I mean we've ran pretty hard. I mean that same tractor I talked to you about that we're planting potatoes with, now we're hilling potatoes with it, fertilizing, and then if anything we've seen something better. And I don't know if that's something that you guys were involved with. It was one of our 9430s, one of our 4-wheel drives that we operated there with one of your guys' tunes. We've had issues with that 9430 and with Deere and everything, but we always had an issue. It seemed like, and this is where I don't know if you guys had anything to do, with the tune, but I mean the tractor seemed like it wouldn't be primed when you let it sit for a while and you hop back in that tractor and start it up. You'd have to turn the key on and let it prime up, and then it would finally fire. Well, now we can hop in this tractor, hop in the cab, turn the key, and it fires right up like it was brand new. So I mean, I don't know if that's something.
I wish we could
I'm
take
sure
credit
you guys
for
may
that,
have
Logan.
something involved for it.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I wish we could take credit for that one, but I don't think it's something that the tuning fixed necessarily.
Yeah, I mean it's overall. I mean, I don't know if it's a totally different tractor now, and we're so dang happy with it.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of stories like Logan's. You know what I mean? And he's tuned up with us just starting this season, right? So you've run through your planting season or into your planting season now. So it's not like you got tons of hours on your machines. But we do have customers who've been running our tunes for 2 or 3 years, over spring and harvest. And, it's just a no bullshit product, man. They run. There's a reason Deere warranties them up to 360 horsepower. It's because they're trouble free.
That's awesome.
I have a question for Nick. I can understand as a salesman personally that when somebody else buys a product, let's say a TS or Steiny or Steinbauer, and they already purchased this, they already invested their money into a product, how do you overcome that when you talk to a farmer?
Yeah, that's a big thing that we run into is, especially guys in Logan's situation where they have a chip on the tractor previously or they've experienced that. And, not all chips fail, or not all have failed yet. But there's a big difference between the chip market and the custom tuning market, and it can be summed up in pretty much one sentence, and that is, does the tractor know how much fuel it's injecting into the system? And anytime you put a module type box on a tractor, you're fooling the fuel system. You're fooling how much fuel the tractor is using, and it simply doesn't know how much fuel it's using. Now that's fine if you have a non-variable vane turbocharger and the tractor is not emissions equipped. You feed more fuel. It's just like any diesel engine. You feed more fuel, you get more exhaust energy, you drive the turbocharger, the air comes, everybody's happy. Worst case scenario, your timing's not right. Runs a little bit hot, a little bit smoky. Great, it's a diesel. But you get on these newer tractors, these 8R series, interim tier 4, tier 3, final tier 4. I mean, you're talking about a delicate system. You're talking about a system that really wants to know what the air-fuel ratio is in the engine, and not just for engine performance, but I mean, you want to know what fuel you're injecting so you can calculate your fuel usage. When you look at your data, you want to see what your gallons per acre, what your fuel rate is, and these boxes aren't doing that.
I hear on the advertising, you claim that for every acre, you can save up to a third of a gallon. If you do 3,000 acres, you just saved 1,000 gallons of fuel. How true is that?
And we want you to see that, the guys with the boxes, they're seeing false information on their heads-up displays, and they're saying, holy shit, am I saving fuel?
Yeah.
And are they saving fuel? Probably. Is it as good as their heads-up display says? Absolutely not. And also the long-term reliability of the tractor is suffering. Make no bones about it. It's suffering. When you use our calibrations, the tractor knows exactly how much fuel it's using. and you look at your heads-up display and it says you're saving fuel, take it to the bank, man. You're saving fuel. It's a no bullshit number. It's not sending out some fake report of fuel usage. The tractor knows what's going on, and it's operating exactly like it should. It's able to compensate with boost, it's able to compensate with timing, and it's able to use its emissions control system the way it should.
So the Power Manager definitely brings a lot of value to different tractors. And Logan, I guess one of the things I have to question you about, are you guys seeing a time saving? Like by having more power, are you upping the ground speed of your operation? Do you get in from the end of your day sooner? Are you utilizing that extra ground speed, I guess is the question here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we're running a couple more miles an hour faster with what we were normally at before, and, we get in there, get it done, and move on to the next one. The point you guys were talking about, the fuel savings. I mean, I've seen it. I mean, we're not using as much fuel. That's just a big thing, and we cover a lot of acres with our tractors, and you start getting into that saving a third of your fuel. I mean, that's a big, 33% savings. That's a lot. I mean, we go through a lot of fuel, and it's just, way things have been, that's a big thing, is, saving as much fuel and trying to be as efficient as possible. And that's just that's the whole farming motto, I think.
Yeah.
Just using what you got and trying to be efficient,
Yeah, they say the price of wheat is down, the price of corn is down, so you got to do everything you can to put some money in your pocket.
Yep, we got to do what we got to do. I mean, some of the markets have rebounded. I haven't really looked at them today, but I mean, they're not like what they were a couple of years ago when you had, almost $8 corn and, $13 beans. I mean, it didn't really bother you, but with the way the markets have been, I mean,
exactly,
you got to
be
pinch
smart.
your pennies and try and save up what you got.
Yeah, and I think it's, Logan talks about it like it's no big deal because he's a farmer, but some people who aren't really in the field every day might not appreciate what 2 miles an hour means in a tractor. So Logan, can you tell us, like, let's say you're planting potatoes or running a piece of tillage equipment. Can you put it in perspective a little bit what 2 miles an hour means with a tune? Like, where did you start and where are you now?
Oh, I mean, working ground, you're boosting up a couple, acres, quite a few more acres an hour, and that's less you're paying a guy to sit out in the tractor and.
Yeah, I mean, what would he be running for mile an hour before the
tune? You're getting it done, so the planter behind it can get it done too, and the planter's not waiting behind the tractor, waiting a half hour for the guy in the tillage tool to get it worked so he can get it planted.
Okay.
And we had such a wet spring, and like I said, we're just keeping the potato planter going and getting it in the ground is a big thing.
Absolutely. Okay. Are you saying that you guys went from like 8 to 10 miles an hour before tune and after tune? Or are you guys saying you went from like 6 to 8? I guess I'm just kind of trying to find a number I could throw at an average maybe.
Yeah, I'd say that on the tillage part. I mean, you can go so fast, while you're planting. You don't want to get sloppy with your planter and everything and have skips and everything like that. But I mean, yeah, I'd say with our tillage tools, you're boosting up from normally where you're going maybe 7, 8, and you're going up to 9, 10, with tillage.
That's a big deal.
That's awesome. It is a big deal, and I think you phrased it really well. Is when you're out there in a planter, you're not getting caught behind the guy running tillage. There's like you had said earlier, Nick. There's a bottleneck that the tuning fixed. So I guess it does make a lot of sense, just in an operational standpoint. Get these things moving, get them down the road, and then everything else kind of starts to become icing on the cake, right? You're using less fuel, you're making more power, you're running more efficiently, you're out of the field quicker, you're paying farmhands less.
You're downshifting less, you're working your machine, you know what I mean? Your machine's running less RPM. It's, like you said, it's icing on the cake.
Okay.
So what do you do with all your extra time and money now? I just want to know. Yeah.
We go find something else to do.
What's the price of beer these days?
That's awesome. Well, I do want to say thank you very much for coming in for the podcast, Nick. Thank you very much for joining us today, Logan.
We appreciate,
No problem.
we appreciate you guys getting with us today and having a great topic to talk about, because this is definitely something that a lot of people are going to be listening to, and they're going to have further questions. So if you have any further questions, feel free to call Calibrated and talk to one of the guys. They'd be glad to talk to you.
Absolutely. And before we take off, too quick here, I'm going to ask you guys both, is there something that we should have asked, or is there something we should have talked about today that we skipped over? So Logan, we'll start with you. Is there anything you would like to tell people about tractor tuning in general?
Oh, first thing, I mean, what I was concerned about, don't feel worried about it. It was kind of a little weary of a thing, but that's just something to get over. It's just been a great thing we've done. One thing I know you guys, we didn't touch base about was our reduce on DEF on our case tractor. That's a big thing. It's just another way to become more efficient, and we've just couldn't be any happier with it.
Great. I appreciate that, Logan. I mean, the thing that I would add would be, if you're interested in doing this, you need to identify kind of what kind of candidate you are. And the best tractors to uprate are those tractors that are lower in the series, right? The 8130, the 8245R, the 9410, the 9230. All those. And sorry, I'm just kind of lingering on Deere because Logan's got me stuck on Deere right now. But we also tune Case and New Holland. So you can imagine the similar tractors for that. So if you're lower in the series, even better for you. Not that we can't go over the top of the series, but like Logan's Steiger 600, we can't get carried away with that model because we want to play it safe. Safety is a big thing. We want to make sure that we keep the tractor safe. They're expensive machines, and you don't want to be loose with them. The other thing that I would say is that with tuning, you can go back to stock. So there's always going to be that one comment on the thread or wherever that says, "Oh, but you just voided your warranty."
Always.
Aren't they only a year warranty for John Deere anyways?
You can buy extended.
It depends. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is, did tuning the tractor cause the failure? And our strategy behind tuning is that you heard the whole thing. We stick within the series. We play it safe. Odds that you're going to hurt the tractor because of tuning, very low. Again, you can go back to stock. Someone's going to have to look to see if the tractor was tuned, and that's only possible on the newer tractors. So if you're out of warranty, it doesn't matter anyway. But if you're in warranty, something you want to consider is it worth the risk to me? If it means trading that 9410 off for a 9510, and you're going to have to eat $30,000 or $40,000,
Right.
might not be a big deal for you. I can tell you straight faced, I don't think we're going to cause a problem on your tractor for the next 5 years. I think you're going to be just fine.
Right.
But it's a risk, and
That's a huge deal for farmers if they're going to go out and buy something and they realize they can buy something in the beginning of the series or the middle of the series. They got to be kissing you on all four cheeks at the end of the day when they realize what you can do.
And Danny's one-liner made it in the episode. That was a good one. That was better than last week's. Absolutely. I like it. I like it.
I have to bust something out. I can't go a whole episode without saying something.
Without a one-liner. That'd be
Right.
crazy talk.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to say again, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Logan.
my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. You guys are always welcome to stop by and check us out if you ever want to. We're just a stone's throw away, I guess. So you're more than welcome to stop by, and we can be more than happy to show you our operation.
I dig it. I'll drink your beer and eat your steak. That's what I'm good for.
You are.
Forget the potatoes.
Yeah.
That was implied. All right, guys. This has been Paul Wilson.
And I'm Danny Voss.
Thanks for listening.
The Diesel Performance Podcast is brought to you by Calibrated Power Solutions, home of DuramaxTuner.com, developer of performance engine and transmission calibrations for a wide variety of late model diesel powertrains, including the Duramax, Cummins, John Deere, Jeep, and many more. For more information and the best customer service in the industry, check out calibratedpower.com or call 815-568-7920.
So what do you do with all your extra time and money now? I just want to know.
Me?
Yeah.
We go find something else to do.